There was a young teacher at a school that just got engaged to be married. And so she shared the good news with one of the older teachers and a friend of hers there also. And so the older teacher then said to her, "That's wonderful, but just remember, the first 10 years of the marriage are the hardest." And so the younger teacher asked her, "Well, how long have you been married for?" She said, 10 years. You didn't get that? Let me try it again. When we think of love, we probably don't think of love as a very challenging topic. But if you really, there are those that think when we hear of love, we think of romance or joy or a warmth in our hearts. And that might be a part of it, but that's not really what love is. That is, love is a great challenge often because love, of course, involves dedication, faithfulness, and commitment. And so that's why love is not only challenging, but rather love can be hard work also. The Pharisees and the scribes had 613 precepts or 613 commands in their Old Testament law. And they would often discuss, if not argue with each other, over what would be the greatest of those commandments. And so that's why they thought they'd pose this question to our Lord and see what he would answer. Which commandment of the law is the greatest? And our Lord not only gave one answer, but he gave two. First, he said, love of God, which is taken from the book of Deuteronomy, and then love of others, which is taken from the book of Leviticus. So not only did our Lord give two answers, but rather he was the first to combine love of God and love of neighbor. And so our Lord made it clear in his answer that, first of all, love is, in fact, the greatest commandment that there is, but then also that love of God and love of neighbor must go hand in hand. They cannot be taken apart one from the other. That is, for instance, if you have a sincere love for God, then you will naturally want to put that love into practice and love others. And when you love others, and that obviously shows a sincere love for God also. That is, they go hand in hand. And that is exactly why we are told in these scriptures, that is, St. John tells us that whoever says he loves God but fails to love his neighbor is a liar. Comes right out and says that. And then he even adds that how can one claim to love God and fail to love his neighbor? Or how can one say they love, or if you have hatred towards your brother, then how can you love God? It is, they go hand in hand. And so it's important then to know that they do go hand in hand. That is, one necessarily is linked to the other. And so then how do we love others, or how do we love God? Well, love can be anywhere from just basic kindness, basic respect, towards a very sacrificial love. That is, a love that is much more demanding. In other words, every day we encounter countless opportunities throughout our day in order to love others. For instance, just in normal interaction, we may see the opportunity to just give a smile, a kind word, or an offer of help. That would be an act of love. That is love. But sometimes love calls for us to give even more time, more counsel, more effort. It requires us to go out of our way, out of our comfort zone, and make a real sacrificial act in order to love that person. And that's when love is challenging. Love is not easy. Or in other words, another way to put it is love is a verb. In other words, it is something that is active, something that we put into action. That is, if we are sincere in our love for God, then we will naturally want to follow all His commands. That is, for example, we would keep the Sabbath holy. If we love God, we will naturally then want to go to Mass. We will naturally want to make Sunday both a holy day and a day of prayer. And if we truly love others, then others will see concrete acts of charity and love that we do for others. It would be clear. It would be obvious. In other words, love is a decision. It is a choice, something we decide to do and then put it into practice. Years ago, a group of us priests were on a retreat, and there was a bishop and I guess a speaker that gave a really powerful talk on love. And at one point he said, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Which sounds kind of funny, but what he was trying to say is the main thing is love. That's what it all comes down to. And our Lord makes this very clear in our gospel also. There is nothing more important, no greater act, nothing more important we can do on this earth than to love others. That's the bare bottom, bones and foundation of everything. And so we are here on this earth first and foremost to love, and that is the most important thing of all. For as St. John of the Cross once said, he said, in the end, we will be judged by our love.